Welcome to Inside City Hall. I'm your host, Mayor Daryl Seymore, and today our first guest is Kirk Webb, Lakeside Fire Department, and Brian Russell from Shoalo Fire Department. And today we'll be talking about the Ready, Set, Go program. Welcome, Brian.
Morning.
Welcome, Kirk.
Good morning.
Glad to have you guys here today. Tell us a little bit about what Ready, Set, Go is. It pertains a little bit to fire safety and some of the things that we have concerns at this time of year.
The Ready, Set, Go program, which is it's a program that's been brought out through the entire nation, and it kind of mirrors and matches and works in cooperation with the FireWise program. And I kind of look at it like FireWise for dummies. You know, FireWise, when it first came out, it was really intricate, complicated, confusing, and so I think people didn't want to do anything about trying to protect their property. So Ready, Set, Go came out, and it's been really nice being able to use this program. One, it's used in a lot of different areas. In fact, this is our third year of using this here in the mountain, and it has a good presentation that goes with it. They provide a lot of good tools, PowerPoint programs, media stuff. So it's just an easy way to go out and help people understand what they need to do to protect their own property.
Okay. One of the greatest things in fire prevention and fire safety isn't so much the fire department as much as it is the individual and how they're taking care of their home and their surroundings. Ryan, what are some of the things a person should do to be ready? Let's talk about being ready first of all, and then we'll go to set, and then we'll go to go.
Well, Ready's the first component of the program. What it basically is telling folks is prepare. Don't just say because it's a bad fire season. They're saying prepare for the long term. So they want you to get everything ready to go. Have your personal items packed, have emergency kits prepared and stored where you can easily get at them. Have your lists of contacts for folks, know where you're going to go in case of an emergency, and kind of be familiar with your surroundings. But they take it and say it should be not just for the adults but for the children as well, and that encompasses also not just preparing yourself but preparing your property, getting your home to what we would call defendable. And doesn't mean you have to come in and clear cut or do anything like that, but making it to where it makes it harder for fire to aggressively get into your property and your home, and makes it a little more savable and defendable, being that term defendable. So it's the first step of a three-step program, and it's actually the easiest and probably the most encompassing of the program.
You know, I think we sometimes get a little bit complacent here. We had the Rodeo Chetasky fire, and then we've had the Wallow fire. In both of those situations, we had time to track as the fire got closer and closer. There was talks about be prepared for evacuation. But I think with the winds and the things that we have in this area, I mean, we need to be ready to go in case a fire started a whole lot closer than these other fires have started. We could be ready, need to be ready to go, you know, today. Yeah, at all costs of what happens.
A lot of our complacency comes from they think, well, we've already had a fire, so there's nothing to burn, which is quite the opposite. We have a lot more potential for fire, and it's with the weather we've had the last couple of years, fire season's actually starting a whole lot sooner in the year.
Right. Tell us, you guys were talking before we started this morning that we're getting real close to maybe some red flag days and things like that. What is a red flag day versus just warnings and that we shouldn't burn, some of those things? What's the difference?
Well, red flag is a term that they use that identifies that there's a significant danger of fire. And it's determined through the National Weather Service. There's lots of criteria, you know, winds, how much humidity is out there, the temperatures of the day, and what's you know, so there's a lot of different factors that go into what determines a red flag. And we can go into a red flag day. In fact, we've actually had several red flag days already this year. And we're just barely now getting into springtime.
Right.
So a lot of different factors, and so people, I think, have a tendency to confuse red flag with going into fire restrictions. They're two complete separate things. We could go into a red flag at any given moment throughout the year, and that's just basically a warning saying, hey, you know, all these conditions are just right where a catastrophic fire could start and get going. And so and then because of that, then yeah, we technically can go into restrictions at any point. And then when we have those red flag days, those are certified non-burn days and things like that for open burning, and it even allows us to be able to control campfires, recreational fires at that point.
Okay, so now the next segment is set. What do we know when we're set?
Being set is kind of a continuation of the ready part, and getting our homes set. And you know, when we're talking about wildland fires in the forest and things like that, there's actually two different kinds of fires. There's a ground fire, and then there's what we call the crown fire. Being set is having everything in the place so that your home is defensible. Like Brian was saying, you know, it's, you know, things that we look at is, you know, is the ground around 30 foot around our home, is there anything combustible? Let's get rid of it, like leaves and trash, debris, things like that. Are the decks and balconies, are they enclosed? You know, nothing under, you know, if we don't close off the decks, we say we got a space of about foot and a half below our decks, and it's all open, and well, that's where the wind carries all the debris, all the leaves, all the trash. And in the case of a wildfire coming through, we're going to have embers that'll fly. Those embers have been known to fly up to 2 to 3 miles or more sometimes. And they may be hot enough to can actually do a spot fire in front. So those embers are going to blow right where that trash blows. And so now you've got that nice kindling of all that trash and leaves and debris, catches the deck on fire, and then there goes the house.
Right.
So there's lots of different, you know, looking at the type of siding they use, the roofing material, making sure, and a simple thing like keeping the rain gutters clean. And then so there's a lot of simple things that people just may or may not even think about. And that's why I really like this program. It encompasses all of those aspects and makes you stop and, oh, well, I can do that. You know, I don't have to go and hire some company to come in here and, you know, clean this out, and if that's all it takes. We saw a lot of homes that were destroyed in the rodeo Chettisky fire because just a simple thing, they didn't clean out underneath the deck.
Right.
Or the rain gutters.
Yeah, but a lot of times people don't realize those rain gutters are full of pine needles and something that's highly flammable, and then they're right next to your eaves that a lot of time are dried out. Maybe the paint's cracking a little bit. You get a fire going right there. You got a roof fire instantly on your home.
Right, and it goes right into that attic space, and then there's nothing we can do.
Right.
So simple things like that, and that's what's really nice about this program. It's like, it helps people stop and, oh, well, I can do that.
You know, we have, and this last fall, we had a lot of rain, which gave us a lot of grass, a lot of weeds that have grown. And you drive around and you see a lot of people's yards are full of those weeds. And it's not only your own yard, but it's your neighbor's yards that you have to worry about. And you need to be cleaning those back so that your whole area, the whole subdivision somewhat becomes a little more fire-wise too.
Right. You know, and kind of along with that, you know, it's nice to have seen the Forest Service and the tribal, the BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs. They've done a lot of cleanup on the areas on either side of town. You know, on the reservation side, there's been a lot of cleanup, and on the Forest Service side, there's a lot of cleanup and thinning and things like that has taken place in the last few years. And what I'm concerned with, and we've discussed this, is a fire starting from inside the community, because we've got a lot of people that well, I came up here to build my house in the forest, and they think if you can't see through the trees, that's a healthy forest, but that's not the case. You know, we got so much overgrowth, and we need to thin out a lot of this area, and it's scarier for what we see from the inside. You know, so that's what really concerns us, and that's why we're pushing this program to help people realize that in order to keep living in a healthy forest, there's some things that we need to do, and it may be thinning some of these trees out.
Right. Recently we had a major fire in one of the homes over in Sierra Pines, and I think both of you were called out on that, and it was great that we didn't have any wind very much that day, because that was an area on a hillside and it was a very hot fire, and luckily you guys did a fantastic job and contained it to that one area. But that's where we start looking. A lot of those homes are half-acre, three-quarter-acre lots over there, acre lots, and there's a lot of fuel to burn between homes still.
There is.
There is.
That way. So when a person gets ready to go, the next segment here, when they have to leave, what are some of the things, how should they leave their home? A lot of people are concerned. You know, before we had some people turned sprinklers on, doing things like that, which sometimes that can reduce the water pressure we have to fight a fire with. What does the go segment entail?
The go pretty much is the order's been given, it's time to evacuate. Save what you can. You don't need to take everything with you. That's where your emergency kit comes in. You've taken all your important documents, you've taken your medications, anything small that you can take, your family albums, your pictures, stuff that you can get in your car readily available and leave in a timely manner. And by all means, just don't turn on your sprinklers. You want to leave as much water pressure as you can in for the fire departments, because if everyone in town turned on their sprinkler systems, how much water pressure would we have to supply our trucks with? And that's where getting ready and getting set goes, of taking care of all of this stuff prior to the evacuation. Because once the order's given to evacuate, there's nothing more you can do. Right. Fire's coming, it's going to do what it does, and that's where you just have to hope that everything that you've done to prepare for it was enough to stop. And part of being ready for the go part is knowing your evacuation routes, knowing the fire started, what radio station do I have to listen to, where am I going to get the information to know when that order is given, so that you're not having chaos. I remember working during the Rodeo Chetasky fire, and a lot of compliments given of how orderly that evacuation went. We had time to prepare for that. We knew it was coming. But what happens if we get a fire either in the community or just south of the community by just a few miles? How much time are we going to have to prepare for that? So this kind of goes into that multiple stage scenario, where the more ready you are, the easier it is to be set, so that when go happens, it can go orderly and timely, and you'll know exactly what to do, allowing public safety to come in and do what they have to do with our checklist. So we'll know which homes need to be checked, which homes have been vacated, which homes have people still leaving because they don't want to evacuate. And then that's when we have to prepare for our criteria. Well, what do we do if we have folks who refuse to evacuate?
I think that's one of the great things in our community. Last time, most of the people did evacuate in an orderly manner. And I mean, our main concern is to save lives. Lives is what we never want to lose. We can replace the property.
Yes.
We can replace some of those other things. Some of those things you can never replace in your home. Those are the things we want you to take with you. But those other. So tell me some of the other shows you're going to be doing, how a person finds out this information, how they can get a copy of this booklet, some of that information.
You know, the booklet can be, we have these at our stations, and we do have several different presentations that we're doing throughout the community. And if there's a group out there that homeowners association, a church group, civic group, whatever the case is, you know, have them get in touch with myself or Brian or any of the fire districts, and we'll be happy to get you know, a time set up that we can speak to your group and do this presentation. You know, when we do the presentation, we have people from the Forest Service and emergency management, the police departments or sheriff's department, because they're the ones that really talk about the evacuation stuff and things like that. So, and I believe we're trying to get some newspaper articles out that'll show those times that people can attend. Some of them are closed meetings for that specific group. Some of them are open to the public. I know we've got one coming up April 9th. That's going to be held in the Sholo City Council chambers. And that's going to be from 6 o'clock till we get done. And you know, I've done one out in Vernon, and we've got another one scheduled out there in Vernon, I think on the 23rd of April. Kelly Wood has some in Pine Top set up for, you know, so contact us for these dates. We're going to try and post as many as we can on City 4 and through the websites, and so check our websites. Check, you know, we're going to try in every avenue that we can to get that information out so people can be aware. And like we say, we're open to coming to you. Even we'll do small groups, large groups. We don't care. You know, we just need some way to an avenue to get this message out. And
Well, it's a very important message. It's something that we see a lot in our community. Some of the people who have had that defensible space that has saved their homes, people that are ready. And so I think it's a great concept, ready, set, go. And I appreciate it. Thanks for being with us today. Stay tuned for the next segment of Inside City Hall, where we'll have Bill Cupp, Public Works Director for the City of Show Low. Brian, thanks. Appreciate it. And Kirk, thank you. Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Our next guest is Bill Cupp, Public Works Director of the City of Show Low. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Glad to have you on our show again today.
Glad to be here.
We're going to be talking a little bit about a traffic safety light that's going to be going in on 9th Street and the Deuce of Clubs. ADOT is going to be starting that real soon. You want to share with us kind of the particulars of that and when it's going to begin?
Yes, sir. The project was actually bid last winter. They decided to have a cold weather season shut down on the project, and the plan is to start construction this spring. We should be having our partnering meeting with ADOT, which is part of their normal process, in the next week or two, and then construction should be starting in April.
Okay. Do we see any disruption of traffic on the Deuce? How will that kind of work with the traffic flow?
There won't be. They won't do a highway closure. However, there will be lane closures. ADOT is also in their contract has made sure that the contractor is going to have the intersection open for any holiday weekends, and then it'll also be open on the weekends, fully open without any of the lane closures.
Okay, great. Now tell me a little bit about the cost and who's responsible, how that's split up between the city, and I guess we have some help with ADOT as well as with the Navajo County that will be helping us there.
Yes, we do. The total cost for the project was estimated at $343,000. half of which the city pays and half of which ADOT pays. However, Navajo County is also going to participate, and they're going to pay half of the city's half. So the cost to the city for the project is going to be approximately $86,000.
Okay. How do you feel that's going to help the flow of traffic on the Deuce and some of that through that area?
I think the biggest issue is with traffic is, and especially this started back when the city purchased Pat's Place, and then we built the new 9th Street intersection there. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic circulating because the county has their offices on the north side of the Deuce Clubs, and of course the city hall and the city library on the south side. There's really no safe passage for pedestrians. And also just the congestion caused by the new intersection there. This will help control traffic. It will help folks make that left turn that sometimes is very difficult when there's a lot of traffic there.
Right now, coming off of 9th heading south, you have to take a right or a left. Will traffic be able to go straight through there from the county coming into the city building?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
We'll be able to go straight through there.
That will be a big help there. One of the things in the design process here, we have to put a right-hand turn lane in, turning right there. So we're going to be taking out some of our landscaping along that side there, where I think it's Brewer Law office will be right up against there, will be the right-hand turn lane. Is that correct? That's
correct. The eastbound traffic on the Deuce of Clubs will have a new right turn deceleration lane. It was determined by the ADOT traffic engineers that in order to make that a safer intersection, they wanted to have that right turn there. So unfortunately, it will include removal of 4 trees and a couple of street lights. We're trying to get the trees reused, and obviously the street lights are reused. And there's also some of the pavers, and we're going to remove the pavers, and we're going to use those in other projects downtown.
Okay, great. So you're saying that will start in April sometime?
Construction should start in April, and it will continue for approximately 6 to 8 weeks. They should have all of their materials and equipment purchased and ready to go, so that should speed up the process. It will affect at least one holiday weekend, although, as I said earlier, that they're going to have the roadways open for the holiday traffic.
Okay, Memorial Day being that holiday?
Right.
Okay, and things there. Anything else you want to share on that project?
I just would ask the driving public to have patience with us. There's going to be some inconvenience for the short term, but I think in the long term it's going to improve traffic and pedestrian safety downtown.
That's great. We have a few minutes here. Let's just kind of talk a little bit in general here, some of the other projects that might be happening around town with Public Works, shortly this summer, some of the things, if you'd like to share that.
I think just as a continuation of this discussion, folks may have noticed in the last week or two that we have planted some trees on the section of 9th Street from the Deuce of Clubs to the intersection at Hall by City Hall. Another part of that project that's upcoming, that's actually under construction now, is they're going to be installing street lights that are matching the ones on the Deuce of Clubs. That project is going to continue in the next year or so. We're going to go from Hall to Huning, and the plan is long-term. We're going to be seeking grant funds and things, other sources of funding, so that we can continue the same theme of streetscape that we have on the Deuce of Clubs down in this downtown area.
Well, it's really starting to beautify that area. We've got a lot of comments on that, and I think it's great some of the other businesses that participated in there and cleaned up their corners, and little by little it's becoming more of a area that people will come down to, and hopefully some more shops can open, and some of that pedestrian traffic will be able to find their way more so down to the City Hall, the library, the county office buildings and things there.
I think it's exciting to see, and just another update on that project, the section that goes from Hall to Huning, we have our engineering folks have done some preliminary layouts, and in the next couple of weeks we're planning some neighborhood meetings to show the folks in the neighborhood what those improvements look like, and also to get input from those folks about what we're doing and how we're laying things out. We're trying to save some of the larger trees on 9th Ave that would be east of the library, and so we've got a couple of schemes in our design in order to save some of the big trees that exist down there.
Well, that's great. And it's also a safety issue when we talk about, we're real close there to the school, and we do have a lot of children that walk to and from school along that path, and so I think it's something it's great to see that's happening in our Public Works departments and improving of our city here. Well, I appreciate you being on the show today. Thanks for joining us on Inside City Hall. If you have questions and you'd like answered here on the show, please call them at 532-4061, and we'll do what we can to answer them. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.